lovelies. So today I am going to be doing kind of a review walkthrough, and I'm going to give you some of my tips and tricks on reviewing. I have a pretty big unit test for AP Government and Law, which is tomorrow, and I have already done some review in advance, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. But a lot of my review I am going to be doing tonight. I luckily have an amazing AP teacher who sends out little reminders for us and is incredibly helpful, but I am going to give you some of my tips and some of my tricks, especially if you're behind, especially with other classes, so you can still do well on a test without having to prep days ahead of time. Of course, it is preferable to prep ahead of time, but if you are really stuck, I'm here to help. Happy studying! So just to let you know a little bit ahead of time, I am filming this very late, so I apologize about that. It is already after AP test, but if needed, you can use this for next year. Again, I am incredibly sorry. So this is my Unit 5 packet, which is the packet that we are currently in AP Gov. So it is a pretty big packet and includes a number of chapters, and since we have such an awesome AP teacher, he actually creates note packets for us, which pretty much has everything that we need. He has checklists. This is something you're going to be referring back to throughout. If your teacher does not give you one of these, which most teachers won't, it is best to create one of these before you begin, because these are incredibly useful. So you can go through and make sure you have all the concepts that you need. But then the biggest parts that I focus on are essential questions, key terms, and then the basic notes. The basic notes are things I take throughout the chapter. Key terms and essential questions are things I like to do closer to the end as more of a review tool. But quite a few of these I did not fill out, as you can see, but some of them I went very in-depth and filled them out with great detail to make sure I truly understood the concepts. In addition, my AP Gov teacher is really awesome with notes, so I can go through and I have all these awesome notes that he sent us. He sends us review topics throughout an hour every single night before we have a test. And it's very good to create a checklist for yourself, even if your awesome teacher does not send you one. Alright, to get a little bit more back on track here, as you can see, the time lapse is here of me, studying, grinding, whatever. My biggest tip for studying is to organize. The checklist that I showed you earlier that my teacher made for me, he called it a best checklist. It basically gives you different categories of the difficulties of things that you're going to be doing and the urgency in which they need to be done. So you have your basics, your essentials, your extra, your above and beyond. I forgot the word he used for the super, and then you have your tricky ones. So basically organize all your concepts, the ones you absolutely need to know, your basics, things like that, and then things that are a little higher up that you're just going to want to learn along the line. The things that are in your basic and essential categories, you're going to want to keep reviewing over and over. That's the stuff you have to look at over time. Now, if you're really struggling with the concept, I would suggest looking at Khan Academy and some other helpful websites, because they have really awesome resources for anything that you might need. For any AP class, really, you would think it's just AP Gov, but they have absolutely everything you can ever imagine out there. Just type in a topic and you'll be sure to find something. Quizlet's also a really great option for prior AP students who are kind of giving you a little nudge in the right direction. And this can also be really big for studying for your actual AP test and not just tests within the class itself. If you find yourself with time to plan ahead, it's really nice to create a study group. Create it with people who you also know will need help, people at different skill levels that tend to do better in certain areas. That way you can be resources for each other rather than all struggling in the same place. You kind of got to make sure you focus, though. It's very easy to get off task. As a relatively novice AP test taker, those are kind of all the tips that I have for now. If you need more or more help, there are plenty of videos out there, but that's all the advice I can give you for now. Good luck!